We're going to talk about page 7 of the Polynomial Models bookwork. For 4b, this is just like most of the other problems you've done. The only thing that they say different is state how many solutions exist for the equation 3 divided by x minus x cubed equals 0. This is a little bit tricky just because of the words they use. They've never said it like that before. They give you two functions. They give you 3 divided by x, and they give you another function which is x cubed. Okay, and then they ask, well, how many solutions are there to 3 divided by x minus x cubed equals 0? And then you're probably like, what are they talking about? Okay, well, let's see. Let's say that you wanted to figure out what the intersections are for these two curves. And we know that you do it by the calculator. But if you were going to do it by hand, the way you would do it is you would, you have two equations, two unknowns. You would figure out what x and y's pairs satisfy both equations. And the way you do that is you assume that this y is this y, and you assume that this x is this x. And by assuming that, you can use them interchangeably. And then, like for example, this y, if this y is this y, then that means that you could just say that this x cubed is equal to this y. And if you did that, you could just set them equal to each other. X cubed equals 3 divided by x. That would be true, right? Because your x and y here, your x and y's here are satisfy both functions. So this is true, right? So if this is true, then if I subtracted x cubed from both sides, then I have 0 equals 3 divided by x minus minus x cubed. And what a coincidence, we got the exact same equation they did. Equals 0, right? Equals 0. So basically when they say this, they want you to recognize that if they write this, what they're really saying is, how many points do these two curves intersect at? Okay, and then it becomes the same problem as before. Put both curves into your calculator, see where they intersect, and this is actually, this part here, how many solutions exist, is easier than actually finding the intersections because you just look at it, see how many places it intersects, and that's how many solutions there are, right? In C, of course, they're going to ask you to actually figure out what those coordinates are. But for B, you could just say, hey, it's 3 or it's 5, okay? And since they're asking for the solution for x, you don't actually need to find the coordinates of the intersection points. You just need to figure out the x coordinates of those coordinates, okay? So that is 4C. That's the only thing different about 4C. 5 and 6 are very common. They're just like all the other problems you've done. And then in 7, they do the same thing. They say find the solutions of the equation 5 divided by x equals x plus 2. And what they did was they just like took each of these two equations and then they assumed that the x's and y's were equivalent. That happens when these two curves intersect each other. So these y's are the same, so they're going to set them equal to each other, okay? And again, this is how you solve these equations manually without the calculator. You say that y is the same, you set them equal to each other, you try to figure out what x equals to, how do you solve that equation, okay? So find the solutions of this equation. To find the solutions of this equation, you just need to find the intersection between these two curves. So again, all you need to do is put these two curves into your calculator and see where they intersect. Okay? Okay, write down the equation of the horizontal asymptote to 5 divided by x. Okay, the horizontal asymptote to 5 divided by x. The easiest way to do this is to put it in your calculator and then go very far from 0, either to put like positive 100 or negative 100, and see what y is approaching. The other way you can do it is you can do it manually and you say, okay, y equals 5 over x. What is that when x is positive 1,000? When x is positive 1,000, it's 5 divided by 1,000. So that's equal to 0.005, right? So it's very small. Now what if you looked at 5, or negative 1,000? X is negative 1,000. That'd be 5 divided by negative 1,000, and that would be equal to negative 0.005. So both of these are very small numbers close to 0, and yes, the asymptote is 0. The horizontal asymptote is 0. How do you write the horizontal asymptote equals 0? You write y equals 0. Okay, write down the equation of the vertical asymptote to y equals 5 divided by x. Now this is really easy, right? Because vertical asymptotes are always referring to where is the denominator equal to 0. And in this case, the denominator only has x, so that means when x equals 0, that is the asymptote. So the equation for the asymptote is x equals 0. So that's it for page 7.